Sometimes heroes don't wear medals or ranks. They don't stand in the spotlight or command battalions. They move quietly through the halls unseen and unheard, yet when danger comes they stand taller than anyone else. This is the story of Maria Alvarez, the woman who cleaned a military base but became its guardian angel one unforgettable night. The night was cold and silent. The air outside the base carried a thin mist and the rhythmic hum of the security lights echoed in the empty hallways. Maria had been working the late shift again, sweeping the corridors of Delta Air Command. She was small in stature, barely 5'3", but she worked with the strength of someone who carried the world on her shoulders. For years, Maria had come here every night, her cart squeaking across the floor, her mop gliding over the same tiles that soldiers marched on during the day. She knew every inch of this place better than anyone. Every corner, every shadow, every flicker of the old lights above her. Rank insignias and honor plaques decorated the walls, but none of them bore her name. Her shift usually ended by midnight, but that night something felt off. The security guard, who normally greeted her at the main hall, wasn't at his post. The sound of footsteps in the east wing made her stop. She tightened her grip on the mop and listened again. There it was. A metallic click followed by the low murmur of someone whispering. Maria's heart began to race, but she forced herself to breathe slowly. She'd grown up in rough neighborhoods in El Paso before moving here. She knew the sound of a gun being loaded even after all these years. That wasn't one of the soldiers. That was an intruder. She reached for her walkie clipped to her uniform, but the static was dead. The security frequency wasn't responding. She remembered the blackout drill from last week. The system was under maintenance tonight. She was alone. Maria glanced at the emergency alarm near the door, but she knew if she pulled it too soon, the intruder might panic and start shooting. She needed to be sure where he was. Slowly, she pushed her cleaning cart toward the sound, the wheels squeaking softly as she approached the east corridor. The hall was dimly lit, the red emergency lights flickering overhead. Her reflection flashed across the metal walls as she peeked around the corner. A man in black tactical gear was prying open a door marked weapons storage. He wasn't supposed to be there. Not at this hour, not dressed like that. Maria's mind raced. The soldiers were sleeping in their quarters. The nearest security unit was at the north gate, a 5-minute walk away. 5 minutes was too long. Theman muttered something under his breath and slammed his shoulder against the lock. Maria spotted a wrench on her cart. Heavy metal solid. Without thinking twice, she slipped it into her pocket and crouched low, moving quietly across the floor. A sudden clang made the intruder turn around. He froze, eyes scanning the shadows. Maria ducked behind a supply cabinet, holding her breath. "Who's there?" The man called out. His voice was sharp, low, dangerous. Maria said nothing. She waited until his footsteps echoed closer. When he turned his back again, she picked up her mop handle and tossed it down the hall. It hit the ground with a loud crack. The intruder spun toward the noise, his weapon raised, and that's when Maria ran. She lunged from behind the cabinet, slamming the wrench into his arm. The gun fired once, the bullet grazing the wall, but she didn't stop. Years of hard work had built strength in her arms, and she struck again, this time catching his jaw. The man fell backward, groaning, his gun sliding across the floor. Maria dove for it, but he grabbed her ankle, pulling her down. She kicked hard, twisting free, and reached the gun first. Her hands trembled as she pointed it at him. "Don't move," she shouted, her voice breaking. The man sneered, clutching his bleeding arm. "You don't even know how to touse that." "Try me," she whispered. For a moment, neither moved. The hum of the emergency lights filled the silence. Then the sound of boots echoed from the far end of the corridor. Soldiers rushing in, alerted by the gunshot. The intruder turned his head toward the noise, and Maria didn't hesitate. She swung the wrench once more, knocking him unconscious before he could react. When the soldiers reached them, they found Maria standing over the man, breathing heavily, the gun shaking in her hands. One of the officers, Captain Reed, rushed forward and gently took the weapon from her.
"What happened here?"
he asked, his eyes wide. Maria could barely speak. "He was trying to break in. I didn't know what else to do." Reed looked at the intruder's gear and frowned. "This man isn't one of ours, he's a mercenary. We've been tracking a group trying to steal classified tech from the base. If you hadn't stopped him," he paused, looking at her with genuine awe, "you saved lives tonight." Maria's hand still shook as she looked down at the wrench covered in blood. "I just did my job," she whispered. But the next morning, the base was buzzing. Word spread fast. The cleaning lady who fought off an armed intruder. Soldiers who had barely noticed her before now saluted when she walked by. Some even called her ma'am. The colonel himself came to see her. Miss Alvarez, he said, his voice filled with respect. You showed courage under fire. That's something we can't train. You've done this base proud. She smiled softly. Thank you, sir. I just didn't want anyone to get hurt. He nodded. We'd like to recommend you for a civilian bravery award. But Maria shook her head. I don't need a medal. Just make sure the floors are safe to walk on, and the people here stay alive. That's enough for me. That night, as she cleaned the same hallway where it all happened, she stopped and stared at the wall where the bullet had grazed. The mark was small, barely visible, but it would always remind her of the night she refused to run away. Outside, the wind carried the faint sound of the flag flapping in the distance. The base was safe again because one woman armed with nothing but courage stood her ground. And so whenever someone passed her in the hall and said, "Good evening, ma'am," Maria would simply nod and smile. She didn't see herself as a hero, but deep down she knew she had done something extraordinary.